this India is unlike any other opportunity that exists in the world. If you want to know how India is doing, you should see the numbers of JSW because they are correlated. 5% of the business is owned by the employees. The day JSW Cement went public, 1,000 crore rupees was made by the employees of JSW Cement. If I can turn around a loss-making company, it will give me a lot of confidence in my own ability. Also felt that it would give me a lot of credibility within the JSW group. We are the only group in the country that plays across building materials. There's no company in the world that is in steel, in cement and in paint. If Sajanji calls you and you don't know your numbers, then you're gone. The IPL as a business, I think the best investment the JSW group has ever made. Babaji would always take us into the plant and show us how steel factories are run, and we would just follow. So he would take all three of us always with him. I always saw that, and I always grew up knowing that at some point of time in my life, I would have to come back and join the business. Sports played a very big role in getting that desire to be number one. Watching my dad and watching him play at the club or at the factory and then playing myself was one of the main ways in which I got that desire to win. But it also taught me the importance of many aspects of life. Like, you know, when you win and you become arrogant, you will lose. And then when you lose, how do you bounce back? I think that's what really defines leadership. What I've learned from my father is lead by example. If there's a problem at the factory, be at the shop floor and solve it. Don't expect somebody else to go and solve it.
आपके लिए तो इतना आसान था, फर्स्ट क्लास स्टील बिजनेस चल रहा था, आप गद्दी में जाके बैठ जाते and life would have been very easy. But you chose such a difficult path, saying that नहीं मैं नए बिजनेसेस करूँगा, नया डाइवर्सिफिकेशन करूँगा, नया वैल्यू क्रिएट करूँगा.
In every meeting, people within JSW were only listening to me because of whose son I was. Whether I knew something or didn't know something, I felt deeply uncomfortable because I really didn't believe that these professionals who have built their life in making steel should be looking at me for direction, because what do I know? I've just come back from studying and I saw that we had a couple of loss-making businesses within the group. So I went to my father and asking him, Ki, Dad, I'm not really happy and I really want to do something of my own. So he said, you must do. That's exactly how I learnt everything. I learnt when I came out of my father's shadow. When I moved to Mumbai, that's when my career started. So what do you want to do? You do whatever you want to do. If I can turn around a loss-making company, then it will give me a lot of confidence in my own ability. Second, I also felt that it would give me a lot of credibility within the JSW group. You know, today you have the stamp of Brown, you have the stamp of Harvard. That means only something when you are able to do something yourself. The onus of taking a decision, making mistakes, but being empowered to take decisions is what we try and inculcate in the culture. But if you're honest and transparent and you take the decision, whether right or wrong, don't look for direction, take the decision. We have been very, very clear that we will have very large ESOP pools. So for all our private companies, 5% of the business is owned by the employees of that business. And it's not just the senior management. Every employee, from which is the graduate engineer trainee to the president of the company, everybody has a stake in the company. The day JSW Cement went public, 1,000 crore rupees was made by the employees of JSW Cement. The DNA of dad is imprinted onto the group. If Sajanji calls you and you don't know your numbers, then you are gone. And I live with him. So सुबह का चाय, रात का dinner, कुछ ना कुछ वो पूछेगा आपका specific heat क्या था नंदियाल plant में कल. Like dad, मुझे कैसे पता मुझे पता है तेरा 740 था 710 क्यों नहीं लाया अभी तक तो क्या कर रहा है 710 लाने के लिए. We are the only group in the country that plays across building materials. There is no company in the world that is in steel, in cement, and in paint. So we have a unique opportunity to be a one-stop shop solution provider to anybody building a home. For us, being the fastest growing cement company in India is very important. Once you launch your brand at a certain price, it is very difficult to catch up because the image gets made in the customer's mind that this price is A minus 30 rupees a bag or A minus 40 rupees a bag. Launching the brand at the right price is very important, and growing the volume is also important, but not at the expense of price.
I want you to talk about IPL, the business, right? We've had over the last 2 weeks, 2 teams underwritten at pretty significant valuations. Would love to get your 2 cents on how you see the IPL evolve and when we're going to see Delhi Capitals actually win a title.
The IPL as a business, I think, I obviously entered in 2019. So probably the best investment the JSW group has ever made. Live sports is the only platform left where you can say that more than 200 million people are going to be watching every single IPL game live. So I think that makes it in many ways AI proof. Does the valuation make sense? Absolutely not. I think it's an absolute, there's no financial metric that can justify this kind of valuation. So it makes no sense. And but it's the scarcity value, and it's also the fact that the upside is massive. You just have to look at American sports, like the IPL teams in Delhi Capitals makes more money than the Boston Celtics, and the Boston Celtics is valued at 6 billion. So IPL will only grow.
Entry into electric vehicle would not have come at a better time when country is kind of really ensuring for energy sovereignty as well as energy self-dependence. And we read Mr. Amitabh Kant write about EV Kranti, a few days back, very fascinating article. Can you just, tell whatever you have not told till now, what is the thesis behind getting into this business? What are our long-term real competitive advantages to be here? And what is the scale which you are looking over the next 5-10 years?
India should genuinely learn a lot from China. And if you look at the recent crisis that has happened in the Gulf, and you look at the kind of impact it is having on the Indian economy versus the kind of impact that it's having on the Chinese economy, India is very much exposed. And one of the major things that China has done incredibly well is electrify its entire fleet, entire passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles.
But they had some inherent advantage, right? That backward integration, they had all the critical minerals, they had the lithium. So, and they are building all those resources for 15 years.
China was not gifted any of these inherent advantages. Over the last 20-25 years, they went out, acquired mines in Africa, bauxite mines, with the foresight that aluminum, as an example, will become an important part of the supply chain in the future. Chinese companies like CATL have gone out for 20-25 years, invested crazy amounts of their revenue in R&D to get ready for this EV revolution, right?
Sure.
And so they've really, in some ways, over the last 20-25 years, had that foresight that electric vehicles are the future, and they've worked towards an almost mission mode.
In China, today there are 82 companies making electric vehicles. 82 companies in China. And 65% of car sales in China now are new energy vehicles.
Sure.
whereas in India the number is about 4%. And that's really the opportunity that we have seen at JSW. India has only 8% of Indian households own a car. Only 8%. If you look at two-wheelers, this number is 58%. 58% of Indian households own a two-wheeler, 8% of Indian households own a car. So that is very clear. Now, that one car which that household buys has to do everything. You cannot have any range anxiety. When we launched the Windsor in 2024, we launched the Windsor in October. At that time, the Windsor was only 12% local. 88% of the components were coming in from China. Today, we are 45% local. By the end of next year, we will be 88% local. Once you localize and you're manufacturing in rupees and selling in rupees, then you will always do very well. If you can build a steel plant in India, you can build anything. Building a cement plant is not difficult. Building a car plant is not difficult. Building a paint plant is not difficult. And if you can survive in steel, despite the cycles, then you can thrive in any other business. And that's the philosophy that, at least that has allowed the group to get into so many businesses. Sure. We are all extremely fortunate to live in this India. You know, an India that has grown from $2 trillion to $4 trillion in the last decade. India that is going to grow from $4 trillion to $10 trillion in the next decade. It is going to happen. This India is unlike any other opportunity that exists in the world. At JSW, we are in all the core sectors of the economy. Whether you look at steel, you look at cement, you look at infrastructure, you look at energy, you look at paints, you look at now automobiles, ports. If you want to know how India is doing, you should see the numbers of JSW because they are correlated. So if steel consumption is going up, that means India is doing well. So for us, I think there's an outsized opportunity, and that is why, despite cycles, JSW Group is committed to capital expenditure in India. And we believe that there are only a handful of groups in India that are actually capable of executing large-scale capital expenditure.
Sure.
And we believe we are one of them. I believe personally, after seeing all the businesses, that if you can build a steel plant in India, you can build anything.